welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim. I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I am surprised to see you here because as we're recording, everyone is a grip with Witcher fever, including you, Mr. Medallion.
Yes, it is wrecking PCs all over the globe with its hair physics.
Yes. How have you found it so far on first impression?
Well, first impressions, I'm loving it so far. It seems to have a lot of fixes for the little niggly things that Witcher 2 didn't do 100%, but it definitely feels a lot more streamlined, a lot more a modern approach on Witcher. So, I don't know.
So accessible, but not necessarily watered down?
Yeah, I'll go with that. But I'm only a few hours in so far, but certainly by the time next week rolls around, I hope to be well into it.
I'll get the replacement host ready, I guess.
But this week we've got some games as well. We've got for our big review Project Cars, which you had a look at.
Community Assisted Racing Simulator, I believe the initialism stands for.
That's a terrible acronym.
It's better than, say, I don't know, Stalker.
That's true.
That's an initialism for something. Look it up, kids.
Yes. I played the game without even knowing that was... I should have known that the dots meant something. But we've also got Serious Business, talking with Jason Clare, Shadow Communications Minister. So very interesting stuff there.
Yes, he is, of course, the person sort of spearheaded the R18 rating. So got some very interesting impressions from him there.
Yep, but first up, we'll go straight into Kirby.
Now, I'm a huge Kirby fan. It's probably my favourite Nintendo franchise.
I did not see that out of you.
No, it's fine.
I thought you like those big, manly, violent
No,
games.
no, that's fine. Like, trust me when I say that Kirby's probably easily hands down my favourite Nintendo franchise. So I heard that there was a new Kirby game coming out. For the Wii U, I'm like, oh my god, this sounds fantastic. And then they said it was like Canvas Curse, and I didn't know what to think. And now we have Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush. I never played Canvas Curse.
Also known as Kirby and the Rainbow Curse and the Rainbow Paintbrush here in Australia, because as we all know, we're not allowed to have Kirby on the box art with angry eyes. That's only an American thing, and that's serious, guys. But anyway, back to the game. So you never played Canvas Curse?
I didn't, and so I know the style of game. It is basically you draw a line, and Kirby follows it to whatever objectives, and he has like certain powers, like he transforms at a couple of points, and you tap him to move him and things like that. So I understood what it was, but being a fan of the traditional platformers and having recently gone to Japan, I just loaded up while I was over there and played all the games I missed. So to me, I hadn't experienced that kind of game outside of, say, like an iPad or an iOS set.
Yes.
So coming into it was interesting to see not only that it carries over a lot of the similar things, but the actual look of it, the plasticine look, is just amazing.
It reminds me of all those Saturday morning cartoons you watched on the ABC and SBS.
The cartoons between cartoons.
All the claymations, that kind of deal. And it's very charming, it's very cutesy, and I mean, Kirby, he doesn't have to try too hard to be cute. The game doesn't have to try hard to be really charming. Like, just all the enemies, the enemy design, things like that is perfect. Now, the game is a complete departure from their traditional Kirby platforms. Everything is done entirely through the stylus. It's incredibly responsive, just like Canvas Curse. Probably one of the best Kirby spin-offs there is.
And I guess because you're not relying on your finger like you would on an iPad or whatever, it works fine.
It's very precise.
The flip side of it is you also get multiplayer. So you can have up to, I think it's 3 Waddle Dees join you as well. And they aren't restricted the same as you. They can jump, they can do all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of break the game a little bit doing that. And it also works for certain collectibles and stuff. But did I like it as much as the traditional ones? It's a different kind of game. If you look at it as not a traditional Kirby platformer, I think you'll enjoy it. Did you enjoy Canvas Curse?
Absolutely.
So maybe if you like Canvas Curse, you'll enjoy this as well. Alright, so we are in a video. Everybody knows us at New Game Plus. This is Gerard, this is Oz. We play a lot of video games, but we're an Australian video game. I thought what we would do is celebrate a cultural landmark. I think perhaps one of the most important cultural moments of Australian history. You know, Federation, the Boer War, Anzacs, the Gough Whitlam dismissal, all of those pale in comparison to the inclusion of Vegemite in Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate. Basically, what they've done is they've taken Cadbury Dairy Milk, which is probably the biggest Australian brand of chocolate, you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a one-time.
And it's a pretty good chocolate.
And they
Nice.
So they added, so it's caramel, and then they added Vegemite. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, it's good on toast. But
it's good on toast.
Is it good on chocolate?
How brave are you? How much do you want? We have 12 blocks.
Ooh.
Like when we're having shots and we have to quickly.
I guess.
Don't have
We'll
any
see.
chickens
All right.
out.
Ready? You ready?
All
3,
right, mate.
2, go.
Caramel with a Vegemite aftertaste.
Yeah, that's all it is. So basically, for all the people who were scared of it and were worried that it was going to be like that over-the-top ridiculous saltiness that people expect, it's salted caramel with like a little bit of a yeasty aftertaste. It's like you drank a beer and had salted caramel chocolate.
Well, to compare,
Okay.
I bought some plain chocolate and some Vegemite.
Jesus Christ.
So let's see what that tastes like. Okie dokie. How many bits do you want?
I'm not a shook. I'll have that whole lot.
Alright.
Alright.
Now we're going to have some for you.
Cool.
I'll give you a little bit.
I still get stuck with double. Okay, cool.
You'll be good. There you go.
Alright.
Ready?
Not looking forward to this one. That's what I'm less enthusiastic about. Alright, you ready? 3, 2, 1. That's actually really fucking good. Holy shit, that's good.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That is really good. Yeah, so the lesson is the salted caramel Vegemite stuff they make is pretty good, but
Yep.
genuinely try spreading Vegemite on chocolate because that is fucking amazing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Serious Business, and today I'm joined by Shadow Communications Minister Jason Clare. Thank you for joining us, Jason.
It's great to be here.
Now I'd like to start with a quote from Bill Clinton. This is from 2009. The internet has become an integral part of America's economic, political and social life. And then about 5 years later, we have Tony Abbott saying, do we really want to invest $50 billion in what is essentially a video entertainment system? Seems like a bit of a disconnect, doesn't it? Like, does our government understand what the internet offers us?
Oh, I don't think anyone would be surprised that Tony Abbott doesn't get it, that he doesn't understand how important the NBN is, how important this infrastructure is. You know, from my point of view, it's essential infrastructure. It's like water out of the tap or electricity at the switch of a button. People need super fast and reliable broadband, and that's what the NBN is all about. That's why I think it's the most important project in Australia at the moment.
Well, in 2012, the United Nations declared that the internet is access to the internet is a fundamental human right, and that was even backed up by China and Cuba, who are traditionally not the best friends of the internet. So that matches with your electricity and water thing.
Yeah.
Now, recently we watched we saw a show on TV, Struggle Street. And as a nerd, I was quite surprised watching it at the lack of computers and that. The NBN for something like that, for that sort of area, wouldn't that help them empower themselves, education, employment, to get out of that sort of cycle?
Yeah, it's part of it. I represent an electorate in southwest Sydney, which is one of the most disadvantaged in the country. We've got an unemployment rate which is almost double the national average. But funny enough, we have more eBay millionaires in my electorate than in anywhere else in the country.
Oh, really?
So, you know, that gives you a little bit of an indication about the power of technology, how it's changing our economy, and how it gives people an opportunity in disadvantaged communities to become sort of micro multinational millionaires. So technology provides enormous opportunities, but there are also real challenges as well, because what you saw on that program and what you see in lots of parts of Australia is the impact of a general decline in the number of unskilled jobs. The amount of unskilled jobs in Australia is dropping, and that's going to continue to drop, and the amount of skilled jobs is going to increase. Most of the jobs that will be created right across Australia over the next decade and beyond require STEM skills, science, technology, engineering and maths, and we're not creating enough people, we're not developing enough people with those sorts of skills.
Well, if you're especially if we talk about opportunities, eBay millionaires and stuff, but also startups. I mean, if people learn coding and they come up with this great idea that could be, you know, the next Facebook or the next eBay. I mean, those things happen every couple of years. Then you're running it on a slow internet. where the customers are getting very slow traffic. I mean, that really does harm those other parts you put
That's
together
right.
to really sort of, for Australia, we're a very inventive country. We come up with a lot of amazing things, but then we get held back by.
Yeah. Oh, that's
slow.
exactly right.
The
And
download.
just to give you an example of that, I was in Kansas City last year where Google is rolling out fibre across the city, and they've created what they call fibre hoods, and startups are moving from different parts of the United States to Kansas City because that's where the fibre is. So like bees to honey, smart entrepreneurs are moving to Kansas City because they can get access to the infrastructure which enables them to create successful businesses. If we don't have the same technology in Australia, then we're putting our own businesses at a disadvantage.
Yeah, we are basically kneecapping them, aren't we?
Yeah, funny thing, I was in New Zealand only a couple of weeks ago, and in New Zealand they're rolling out a fibre network. At the end of last decade, they built a fibre to the node network, so fibre to a distribution point and then copper the rest of the way, and they did that for about half the country, and they completed that about 2011. Now they're building a fibre network for about 80% of the country. Now both the New Zealand ultra-fast broadband network and Australia's NBN will be completed at the end of this decade. The difference is New Zealand's going to have fibre, and for a lot of Australians we're going to be left with this second-rate old copper network.
So we're going to have what New Zealand had 10 years ago.
Exactly.
We're pretty competitive with New Zealand so as a country.
Yeah, well, we beat them in the cricket, but we're not beating them when it comes to fibre, when it comes to this sort of infrastructure.
They can have the World Cup if we can have proper internet. No, I think that'd be quite a surprise to a lot of people because we've seen the IOAnet ads. I think that we said Romania's got faster internet than Australia, but I think New Zealand's a bit of a shock.
Well, you normally think of Japan, South Korea,
yes,
Singapore, countries like that which have got a fibre network, and they're the countries that we often compare ourselves to, that we do business with, that we're competing against.
Yeah.
And a very good reason why we need the same infrastructure. But I think a lot of people would be surprised that New Zealand is beating us as well.
Yeah, we seem to be giving up on the chance to do that, don't we?
Yeah, we can't afford to.
No. Can I ask you a question about community TV? Now, we're a community TV show. At the end of the year, there's plans to take our spectrum, move us onto YouTube, which we do find amusing since they said you can all go onto YouTube, and then they went and wrecked the internet on us. So that's one area we can have. We'd like better internet for that, please.
You think there's a conspiracy happening there?
Maybe they just didn't think it out. So now, well, you're the Shadow Communications Minister. Can that be undone? What's your plans for it? What could we expect if things change, basically?
Yeah. Well, you're right. Malcolm Turnbull has said that Channel 31 and all of community TV gets switched off at the end of the year. So it's not going to be a very happy New Year's Eve for community TV. Come the 1st of January, it's all off. I think it is right to say that there is a need over time to switch to over-the-top services. The internet will provide enormous opportunities for community television as well. But I've been listening to the people who work in community TV, and what they've said is we need more time.
Yep.
If you switch everything off just after Christmas, it's going to destroy community TV. And people have asked me and Malcolm Turnbull for a couple more years.
Yeah.
2 or 3 more years just to make sure that we've set up and we've got everything in place for the transfer from broadcasting to over the top on YouTube. And I think that's right. We need to make sure we get this right, otherwise we're going to lose a very precious resource in Australia.
Yeah, well, I know from our point of view, migrating all of our viewers onto YouTube hasn't been straightforward.
No.
It hasn't been, everybody didn't all of a sudden go, you're going to be on YouTube, we'll jump over there.
Yeah.
So yes, extra time would be really appreciated.
Yeah. No, well, look, it's common sense, isn't it? That it will take a bit of time, and we need to take steps to make it happen. But if we try and force everybody off in December, on the 31st of December, then we really risk making a big mistake and losing something very important.
Yeah, a product that's just the commercial TV stations generally don't offer.
Exactly right.
I know from our point of view as a video game show, we would be totally different on commercial TV, probably lose a lot of what makes us actually very good at the moment.
Yeah. Which is the reason people watch. and people want to watch, but it's not that simple just to say on the 31st of December we switch from broadcasting to over the top. There's a lot of steps that need to be taken by lots of different programs and lots of different channels.
Yep.
And I think the government needs to listen to the things that you're saying and to the things that community TV is saying to the government. Give us a bit of time, help us to make the transition. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of angry people, including the people that are watching today, that the government has just ignored them.
Cool. All right. Well, look. Lastly, now I understand you're a big retro gamer. So, what's your favourite console and favourite old game?
Well, if you wander around my office, you will find my old Commodore 64. It's you have to take me way back now. I'm thinking about River Raid was my favourite game when I was playing as a kid.
Good choice.
Decathlon, a few other games there, but River Raid. Yeah. I'm an old River Raid man. It's
nice.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, Commodore 64, a very good choice.
Yeah, yeah. No, I put a photograph of my old Commodore 64 on my Facebook page a little while ago, and a lot of old mates that I used to play games with quickly sent a message there that a few flashbacks from a lot of fun when I grew up.
Awesome. Yeah, video gamers are everywhere. No, that's cool. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Being on the program.
Yeah, great having a chat to you, and hopefully we can catch up again in the future.
Love to.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jason Clare.
Cheers, thank you.
It's a bloody marvelous time to be alive. An age of invention. So many clever blokes dreaming up impossible machines. Sorting away more gold than Queen Victoria herself. But none of those shillings ever makes it into the pockets of the poor devils whose blood is spilled building this glorious empire. The working class sleepwalks through life unaware of the machine that drives them. Let's wake them up then, shall we?
So we may have just watched that trailer, but the only thing I got from that is the fact it's set in 1868, which is kind of like the Order 1886, which was also incredibly forgettable.
Yes, I don't know about having the Industrial Revolution in London. It's a very interesting time, but I don't know how it fits with an Assassin's Creed game.
It's aesthetically pleasing, which is pretty much all you need at this rate, because these are things like, you're not expecting too much revolution, funnily enough, out of each new Assassin's Creed game. It's just layering mechanics on top of systems on top of mechanics at this rate.
Well, it seems like it's going to be more of an Assassin's Creed game, and I'm not sure how well that'll fare for it, because Black Flag was probably the most recent best one.
But it was the best because it was almost the least Assassin's Creed out of the entire franchise. It was just naval warfare, which was great.
Yeah, and if it follows in as, like, we've already had 6 Assassin's Creed games, do we need more?
Yes, we do, apparently. There's always a market for it. And, like, I personally want Syndicates to be good because, well, Brotherhood and the entire Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy, yes, that's a sentence I just said, that was damn fun to go through. And I've played through every Assassin's Creed game since, just in the vain hope that we can recreate that magic. I kind of hope that Syndicate does, but will it actually, though?
Let's be honest, you just want to bring the top hats back.
Well, don't you, Tim? Don't you?
Now, every company that makes video games seems to have a car game at the moment. So
You kind of have to, don't you?
I think so.
I think it is a law for that or something.
we have the Crew for Ubisoft. You have, Need for Speed obviously for EA, which doesn't really count in this circumstance. Drive Club for Sony, but then they've also got Gran Turismo coming out, apparently.
You've got Forza for Microsoft. You have Codemasters with Dirt.
Yes, so like a lot of games are coming out in the car racing space, but they're all semi-arcade. Like they're not full simulation, except for the original Forza series, of course. But the recent ones have been Horizon. Yeah, so everyone else has gone down that road, but Namco Bandai have said no. We insist on making a simulator in the face of everything.
The people want simulators. That's the
true.
thing. Indeed, this game we're reviewing, Project Cars, was crowd-funded by up to 80,000 contributors, I believe.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I think a lot of people have been ignoring, because everyone extols the virtues of Gran Turismo, and while I disagree that it's as good as people say, it takes 6 years to make one. Do you know what I mean? So nobody can rely on that coming out, whereas at least with Project Cars, being crowd-funded, having all that kind of stuff, and then having Namco come in and say, hey, we can make this happen and potentially make some money out of it. You have a game that people can play who have that more simulated mind in play, I guess.
And indeed, it is very much a racing simulator. Like, it does not at all cater to a casual audience. There are no tutorials, there are no licensed tests. This game is very eager to rub your face in every single mistake you make.
So no rewind button?
No rewind button. And indeed, unless you take a corner perfectly, if you go too hard in or out, you'll just spin out and crash into a wall.
Awesome, because to me that's probably been the thing. I love a good arcade racer. Like Burnout 2 is still probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
But I do love a good simulation. Like, even the Forza series were really good. But some of the PC exclusive stuff that you can't buy, I've really enjoyed, because I enjoy tinkering with cars, playing with suspension, seeing how you can go.
Then you'll love this game because there is an endless options for customizing and tuning your car. And each of the games, about 60 cars, they all handle uniquely, as in you've got plenty of choice to race in your style.
And I guess that's probably the big question that is going to hold it back or not. A lot of these other licenses have paid a lot of money for particular car licenses. In this, is it more of a realistic kind of cut across the ones you'd expect, the Rexes, the ones that are known for being track monsters, or is it just basically what licenses they could secure at the time?
It's a bit of both, as in you've got a wide array. You've got your classic cars, you've got your Renault Clios, you've got your Audis, your BMW. So a standard choice, really. You also have some hypercars, some prototype cars that you only see in the endurance races as well.
Cool.
But at the same time, though, you really have to like racing and driving specifically to get into this game, because the career mode is basically just a series of menus and a fake Twitter feed.
Right.
And sure, there's online as well, if that's up your alley. But the AI is kind of dumb.
Yeah. I've noticed that to be the case.
Yeah.
Look, it's got to be said, there's one thing this game does really well that I really appreciate. Dynamic weather. Spend more time putting dynamic weather in racing games.
Rain slick weather really affects the game, doesn't it?
Now, as far as sims go, I've really only got into Gran Turismo. So can you convince me to get on this, or?
It's like Gran Turismo, but realer. It actually does look really pretty on PC. Like on the PS4, it looks okay, the car models look decent, but apparently on PC, it just goes a step above in terms of the pretty flair.
But speaking of pretty flair, God, Witcher 3.
Oh
my God.
Can't not talk about that game, can we?
Well, in terms of like graphical prowess, obviously Cars is a very pretty game.
Yeah.
And Witcher 3 is a very pretty game. So just steering the compliment myself.
But Witcher 3 has so much more it needs to make pretty. Something like, say, Project Cars or any sort of great racing game, which is why they make for good launch fodder. You just need to make car models look pretty.
Yeah.
This, you have to make the hair look so detailed.
Yeah,
You have to make every tree, every follicle look absolutely pristine.
You need Tyrion Lannister with like a really scowly face, and then you're set.
So you just need Tyrion Lannister at default mode then, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. So it works out well. But next week we will have a Witcher 3 review after.
You'll be able to tear yourself away from the game to be able to review it?
Yes, that's like after it's finished, but then you can go back and play it again and again and do all the different choices.
Of course you can.
Yep, we just returned from BAM as well, so hopefully you guys had fun there.
Congratulations to all the winners of the various tournaments as well. You done good.
Yes. But that's it for this week, so we'll wrap it up. Visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, we're at New Game Plus TV.
Follow our Twitter and Instagram at New Game Plus TV.
And follow us on YouTube and Twitch, we're New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next week.